Week 0 is officially here. Man, has it been a long time coming since we did a college football preview. Exactly about 7 months since we did a college football preview, dating back to January when the national championship was being held. But week 0 is officially beginning. Our 4th season covering college football officially kicks off Saturday, August 29th. North Carolina, TCU kicking us off in Dublin, Ireland. These are my previews and predictions as the Tar Heels and the Horned Frogs face off in Ireland. Hello, everyone. My name is Lucas Hill. Welcome on into the Southern sports scene. Make sure you all do us a favor. Hit the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Turn on the bell notifications so that you are notified every time we go live, posting a video or posting a short here on the Southern sports scene. Every live show brought to you by our good friends over at FrostBuddy. Going over to frostbuddy.com. Use the promo code SSS15 to get 15% off of your first purchase. That is code SSS15 to get 15% off your first purchase. We also want to thank our good friends and partners over at Chike Nutrition. 20 grams of protein, 1 gram of fat, and 1 gram of sugar. You can get every day started with a healthy, hearty cup of coffee. And as always, guys, make sure you get on over to the Buzzer app. Download the Buzzer app today so that you can get yourself 10, or you can become a verified creator today. TCU and North Carolina, two completely different teams coming off two completely different records. Last year when these two teams met, it was an absolute one-sided affair. TCU dominating from start to finish. They win that one by 30. Plus, this year, it's a bit of a different line. TCU only a 7.5-point favorite out in Aviva Stadium in Dublin, Ireland. They played in Dublin the last 2 or 3 years, I believe. So here we go. TCU enters a brand new era. Josh Hoover is now a Indiana Hoosier. They brought in one of the best Ivy League quarterbacks in the country in Jaden Craig. Jaden Craig is an incredibly athletic quarterback. One of the things that we have seen from him, and when I watch tape on Jaden Craig, is his ability to get outside the pocket and be able to make plays that you're not seeing a lot of other teams that are making. However, you're talking about a step up in competition. It's a whole different animal when you're playing from Ivy League ball and now you're playing out in the FBS going up against the Big 12 where TCU is going to have to play 2 or 3 really good defenses at some point this year. But this is going to be Jaden Craig's team. I think that this is going to be the roster that Sonny Dykes has been waiting on for a while. I think that this is going to be a consistent team that many people thought, okay, you lose a guy like Hoover, you lose some key starters on the defensive side of the ball, you might be taking a step back. No. Make no mistake about that. This team is going to be very, very good, despite the loss of a guy like Edel Bryles. TCU is still going to be a very, very good offense. You bring in one of the hottest names from this past year in Gordon Samus, who was the offensive coordinator over at UConn, and that was a UConn team that was a top 15 offense, and they had 3 really good weapons all across the field. Samus brings that experience over from UConn to here, to TCU. This is going to be really good. You have your number one option in Jordan Dwyer, who is going to be the number one guy. You'll lose a guy like Eric McAllister, had 730 yards and 7 scores for the Vandals this past year. Running back Jeremy Payne, who was the hero in the Alamo Bowl this past year, coming off of a 600-yard season, averaged almost 6 yards a carry. This is a guy I'm expecting it to get 15 to 20 touches every single game. His carries are going to get better over this course of this year. The month of November belonged to Jeremy Payne. He was a guy that averaged just over 6.5 yards a carry every time that he touched the football. And let me just tell you, he is explosive, and he is a guy that you have got to pay attention to when it's all said and done. I think he can be one of the best running backs in the Big 12 this upcoming season. Kamarian Pipton is going to be one of the guys that it could be the check down guy when it's all said and done. He's the transfer in from LSU. Defensively, I think that you obviously have to replace a lot of NFL draft picks and Caleb Elarmzor, as well as Namdi Obizawar. That's going to be a big question mark. You brought in Michael Short, who is a Virginia Tech transfer. Max Carroll is a guy that's been in with the program for a long time. He's expecting to be that number one guy. But the biggest improvement that TCU could have is going to be the DB room. And you may say, Bud Clark's gone. So this is still a very, very good team. Gil Jackson is expected to emerge this year, but you also brought in guys like Kalen Carroll, who is a phenomenal DB over at Central Michigan, and Tion Parks, who's looking to get more playing time and really is going to develop a lot better in TCU. The safety position, Jacob Fields and Jamel Johnson are going to be the anchors at the end of the day. I really do believe that this is a TCU team that, despite the question marks that they have at different points, especially on the defensive side of the ball, I still believe that this is a very, 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 very good team when it is all said and done. I think this is a program that is still going to find results when it's said and done, and they are going to once again be a sleeper in the Big 12. I really believe that this is still a team that's always going to somehow play spoiler when it's all said and done. For North Carolina, this has been a chaotic offseason. So you have still the whole situation with Michael Lombardi. He's placed on administrative leave. Then you have the College Sports Commission that came in and investigated North Carolina. That has kind of gone quiet over the last month. But now it's a new era for Tar Heel fans. Here's the thing. I don't think that this is going to end up really well for Bill Belichick. I think that this was a really bad hire. When you look back on it, I thought it was a questionable hire to begin with. I was looking at North Carolina and saying, why are you hiring a guy that has not coached at the collegiate level? Nonetheless, really been a consistent coach at the NFL level after the ending of the Tom Brady era. You have the one good season with Mac Jones, and then he goes into a downward spiral because quarterback development was so bad at New England. And the fact that he was even at North Carolina, he's never been a coordinator before. Now you have the situation where Steve Belichick is gone because of all the health concerns. So what does this offense look like now with a brand new quarterback at helm? Gio Lopez is now at Wake Forest. You brought in Billy Edwards Jr. from Wisconsin. You went out in the offseason and actually made some pretty decent moves. You went out and got Bobby Petrino as your OC. Bill Belichick's probably going to be the primary play caller when it comes to being the DC. I think that this is going to be a somewhat improved offense. Remember, this was arguably one of the worst offenses in college football this past year. They had no answer whatsoever. They had 25 total touchdowns the rest of the year. 7 teams scored fewer that season. Petrino did a really good job the last 2 years with Arkansas. You saw what he was able to do with a guy like Taylor Green, able to develop him into a solid quarterback. Here's the difference, though. Billy Edwards is not a guy that I think is going to run. I just don't see it at the end of the day. Big-bodied quarterback, but he's not a guy that's going to consistently carry the football a lot throughout the season. He's a drop back quarterback. I think that would be best for him at this point in time. So, what does Petrino do at the end of the day? Remember, if North Carolina can show some improvement this season, I think they have a really solid chance at maybe being a dark horse for a bowl game. There's obviously some games where they could be sleepers in. Jordan Shipp still returns. He was the number one receiver this past season. I'm surprised that he's decided to stay out in Chapel Hill. Demon June had some moments early on in the season. Excited to see him this year. I think he's still kind of getting his feet wet into this offense. Averaged just over 5.5 yards a carry this past season. So right now it is Billy Edwards' team. The Tar Heels need a lot of consistency everywhere. The running back room was subpar. You have to get a consistent quarterback. You have to be able to throw the football down the field. But I mean, you still have issues that you have to get resolved. You've got to score. That's the ultimate thing that this team has to do. Defensively, they were decent, but there isn't a whole lot of returning talent to work with. But the biggest thing, though, is that the defense really wasn't bad. Okay? We can look at some games and say, oh my gosh, the defense just looked like crap. Really, the offense put them in bad positions because of the turnovers and the miscues that they had all across the field. I think defensively, they're going to improve. And I think success is still there, even without Steve Belichick. And you got to remember, it wasn't but 2 years ago Steve Belichick had the number one pass defense at Arizona. He goes to North Carolina, and this is still a really good program. And the Tar Heels were 0-8 when the defense allowed more than 15 points. There is a lot of issues when it comes to your front seven. You lose guys like CJ Mims and DeAndre Robinson. Let's see what guys do. Let's see what Donathan Holliet, who was one of the better edge rushers this past year at Richmond. So if you can find depth on the defensive side of the ball and guys to step up, I think you'll be in a decent position this year. But I think overall, when you look at this game, TCU just has so much firepower. I think they're a lot more consistent. I think the issues on defense are going to be able to hold up against a TCU defense that lost a lot this past year. I think that TCU goes into this football game out in Dublin. I don't care that it's in Ireland. I think TCU is able to get the party started, get the Jaden Craig era off to a decent start. I'm expecting Jaden Craig to have his hiccups throughout the game, and it's obvious it's going to happen. But I think if he trusts this offensive line, I think if he continues to develop well like he's done throughout fall camp, I think that he is eventually going to work himself up into being a top 5 Big 12 quarterback when it's all said and done. Give me TCU to cover in this one, the 7.5-point spread, according to ESPN. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys for tuning on in to the Southern sports scene. Always appreciate when you guys express your thoughts. Excited to get back to college football previews. It's been a long time coming. I've been waiting to do previews for a very long time. But until next time, ladies and gentlemen, y'all make sure you stay tuned. We got a lot more previews coming soon. Stay blessed. Don't stress.